Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos speaking to you from our studios at Troy Cablevision on South Grundy Street in Troy, Alabama. We're coming to you live on Facebook across the nation, across the world. You're on Today in Lower Alabama, and we appreciate all of you out there. And, of course, everybody's hanging in there after a beautiful Easter weekend, and I hope everybody got an opportunity to do some things they haven't been able to do lately. Hopefully they stayed within the limits of what we have to do, and that's within 6 feet of anybody you're talking to, or also being able to congregate with 10 people or less. So, of course, it was a beautiful Easter, and I hope everybody received a blessing from the day. And of course, my grandchildren had their Easter eggs indoors. Of course, they had a little outdoors on Saturday, but indoors on Sunday. Of course, we had a big rainstorm last night. A little over an inch of rain fell over the city of Troy, and a little bit more in some places. And again, heavy lightning, and it woke me up, I know that, and I was running around a little bit this morning because the lightning was really what a showcase it put on. But everybody seems to have gotten over that without any real damage, thank goodness. And, of course, with Easter services yesterday right here on Troy Cable, we went out live to you, and Steve and our staff was out there yesterday morning at the First Methodist Church, and what a beautiful service that was. And, of course, we ran it again yesterday at 11 o'clock, and hopefully we'll run it a few other times throughout the week as we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who died on the cross to save us all from our sins. And at this time of our lives, at this moment, hopefully we all look for Jesus to set us free. That as long as we believe in Jesus Christ, we're going to be all right and without any problems. And I hope that all of you feel that way. I want to mention Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass, and Jason and his staff are still selling a lot of cars and trucks out at Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep on the bypass. And of course, all of you people that own businesses, that some of you smaller businesses are maybe having to slow down a little bit, or we hope that you will be getting some relief, and I call it relief, come this week. Hopefully their checks are in the mail, and there'll be a lot of people getting some help economically through this tough situation that we've got going on right now. Of course, we appreciate Bill Jackson Chevrolet, Bill Jackson Ford on the bypass right here in Troy. And, of course, Bill Jackson now the owner, longtime Chevrolet dealership, a big dealership right here in Troy, now has a big, fine Ford dealership also. We've got a call coming in. Good morning. How you doing?
Morning.
Where you calling from?
Great Beach, Florida.
Tell us about Northwest Florida. How did it get a big rain last night?
Yeah, I mean, we got a bunch of rain and lightning, and I was looking out in the yard this morning. Looks like we survived it pretty good. I don't know about other parts. I'd have to look into it. They said we're going to come until about 2:30 in the morning, and that's about right.
Was you able to hide eggs yesterday?
Yeah, we had a great Easter egg hunt. The Easter Bunny came and hid some eggs on the screen porch and out in the yard, and it was a lot of fun. I saw a glimpse of the Easter Bunny yesterday. He was leaving our yard heading to another.
Did you, which one found the most eggs?
I tell you what, they both found about 50 pounds. I don't think I did a great job. I mean, or the Easter Bunny did a great job of hiding them. So.
Well, I hope you did. And, of course, a lot of people.
Y'all survived. Was the weather in bad?
Well, we woke up in the middle of the night around 3 o'clock. It seemed like that's when it hit real hard. And we were, of course, I have a bottom floor that we went to, and didn't stay down there too long, but got through all the heavy rain and so forth. That was a widespread area that this weather front came through. I mean, it went as high as Birmingham, even close to Huntsville, all the way to really actually on the other side of Ozark.
Yeah, I know they had some really, major tornadoes in Mississippi. I read about.
Yeah, we were very fortunate to stay away from the tornadoes.
Yeah, there were some deaths. I think at least 6 people died in Mississippi is what I
Oh,
read.
gosh, I hate that. Man, I hate that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're going through a time of our lives that maybe we'll never see again. And what I hope so much, they're going to make some decisions, I'm sure, this week on the economics of this thing, and a lot of people are closing their doors, and then a lot of people are hoping that the government can help them start back. I don't think right now there's enough money out there to do a whole lot of good, even though, Mike, we've got a lot of relief coming, hopefully, in the mail this week.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, who's going to be able to get their stimulus checks yet? I think it comes down to if you file your taxes through direct deposit, I think you'll get them a little bit quicker, they said, than if you don't. I think, if you get it sent to you through the mail, I think they said it was going to be late April.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's say that again. Let's say that again.
I mean, that's just what I've heard and read. So
Tell us that again, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, direct deposit, that's
exactly.
straight into your checking account or savings account.
Exactly. That's why. Yeah. Thank you.
So if you get
Thank
that,
you, friend.
you would get it sooner than people that don't have it, filed through their checking account or savings account. It gets, mailed to your house. But they have so much kind of crazy technology now. Once it gets mailed to your house, you can take a picture of it on your phone and send it to your bank.
That is pretty nice, no question about it. But you're exactly right. I'd rather for it to be that way. And like you said, and like Mike just said, you got a chance to get your check a lot sooner if you go that route. You mean you could actually go into July without getting a check if you don't go that route?
No, I mean, I think you'd get it just probably sometime late April. So
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, April.
I don't know exactly the dates or times or anything like that. The small business loans is what a lot of people are having issues with. They're, the government I think issued $250 billion to help some of these small businesses out, but apparently like the paperwork and all these things you need to file, and apparently the sites are not working properly and bouncing people out, and it's taking them 12 to 14 hours just to fill out an application, and that's not even the fact they hadn't even talked to anybody yet. So I mean, all kinds of issues. It seems like with websites and stuff like that you're hearing about as well. So it's really tough for people to get this, get what they need, and at this time as well, as far as just dealing with computers and talking to people over the phone.
Mike, let's look at our numbers, how they look today for the state of Alabama. And right now, there were confirmed cases in the state of Alabama. Well, that can be true now. Let's see. Right now, 437 people have been hospitalized with the virus in the state of Alabama. And this is just this past weekend.
It actually tells you who's been hospitalized?
Yeah, it says confirmed cases. This is this weekend, April the 13th, which is today. Is that right? The 13th today?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. There were 20 confirmed cases this past weekend. Total tested. There were 187 people tested. Reported deaths were 0 this weekend. That's good. And 0 died from the illness or the COVID-19. Of course, total hospitalization statewide was 437. So that's a look at what we have right now. Nationally, there's been 560,000 cases. There's been 22,115 deaths, and there's been 32,634 recovered. So the cases which had an closed cases, which is good, 54,700. That's just some of the figures that we got.
If you take New York and New Jersey out of the mix,
yeah, you're right.
Obviously you can't, but that's 250,000.
You're exactly right, and that is, excuse my language if I say the wrong word here, but that's what's messed everything up so much, is because New York is New Jersey, and that area just takes up, they talk about figures out there. Well, a lot of them are major figures because New York's so populated, so many people that I think they get their numbers messed up sometimes. Of course, there's big numbers out in California, and there's big numbers in Detroit and all that area.
Yeah, Michigan's got almost 25,000 cases and almost 1,500 deaths. That's what I'm saying. New York, New Jersey, they have now 11,600 deaths.
Yeah, exactly. Come on in here, Mayor, if you don't mind. We're going to take a short break. The mayor of the city of Troy, Alabama, Jason, is going to be here in just a moment. Jason Reeves, our mayor, will be back with more of Today in L.A. How you doing?
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance needs.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen. We're on Today in L.A. Located on South Brunny Street in Troy, Alabama. Mayor Jason Reeves has joined us, my friend. I was going to, I started to stick my hand out at you, but I'm not going to shake your hand, and I don't want to see anybody shaking anybody's hand.
I tell you, Mike, some of the toughest moments of this have been me having to put my hands up and back people off, because
exactly.
it's just what we do. It's one of the things you love about the South is we shake hands, we hug necks, we slap backs, and, that's just what we do. And we just can't do that anymore, right? Not right now. And so we've got to pay close attention to that. And it's been, it's a lifetime habit for all of us that we've got to, that we're having to keep in check right now.
It's Monday, the 13th day of April, and the Honorable Jason Reeves, the mayor of the city of Troy, has joined us. And ladies and gentlemen, with going through the virus and all the things that happened to our community, and there's still other aspects of the community that we need to take a close look at. And we didn't realize we're going to have a huge storm in the middle of all this.
Well, Mike, the Lord really blessed us last night. We had you know, we've had people out working all night. We had several things happen, but in the end, we did a whole lot better than it could have been. What basically we had about the problem was going to be that wind coming, you know, the air coming straight up out of the Gulf, and that there was about a 15-degree change to the northeast, and that helped us a tremendous amount on because that didn't happen west of us. I mean, we had tornadoes and all sorts of stuff in Mississippi, Louisiana, things of that nature up in North Alabama, I think. But we were, you know, it was a long night. Y'all forgive me, I hadn't had a lot of sleep.
I don't believe you have.
But we're, but our guys did a wonderful job. Worked all night. You know, they went home not very long ago to clean up and get back at it. So, and we'll go through, you know, all the different aspects of the storm. We've got environmental services is getting ready to go over to Murphy Street area and get some trees up.
So there were some trees down on Murphy Street.
We got some trees down. Our biggest area, you know, early on, we really had two waves. We had one early on about, you know, when I say early on, 11:30 or so, 11:30, 12:30, and then another one, you know, right before, you know, about 1 o'clock. And it was most of it was gone by 1:30. That was one thing about it; it moved fast. But Lakeview, Lakewood subdivision, they had some trees down, and we had a utility pole break.
That's right outside the perimeter, or if you want to call it the bypass on down Luverne Highway.
That's right.
Going
29 south.
So they did have a pretty good hit right there. Then.
Yes, sir. And but everybody's back on now. They worked very hard to get that back on. Appreciate everybody's patience.
You know, I know when you get out there, and of course, you know, Troy's utilities, and I, you know, I make fun of them sometimes. I see them out at Sisters or somewhere eating lunch or something. They look like they're all in uniform, and they, boy, you talk about a hard-nosed group of guys. I mean, I'd hate to have to go up against those guys. I mean, they're physically fit, aren't they?
Well, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, they're we talk about my you know, my granddaddy Homer and all his involvement. But my granddaddy, my mom's dad out in Texas was he ran a huge division for Fleur Daniel and built a lot of things. And he had a bumper sticker on his truck that he liked so much that he took the bumper off of one truck and put it on the other one, so he didn't have to get rid of the bumper sticker.
So some of your family, a lot of your family come from Texas.
Well, they were Mama's family originated in Martinsville, Virginia.
Yeah.
And then, but in 1980, my grandfather was transferred with Fleur Daniel, which is an international construction company, out to Houston, Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
And he finished his career out there.
So he watched Houston grow, didn't he?
Absolutely. I used to. Some of my fondest memories were going to watch ball games in the Astrodome and Earl Campbell in the Houston Oilers.
Exactly. Houston Astros. I love that song that they played. You know.
It was.
Your granddad actually just turned 90. I saw a picture of him. He looked great.
Yes, he did. We went out last year for his 90th birthday, and we're planning to go out this year. And of course, we had to put that trip off until later. But that bumper sticker said, "There's no substitute for knowing what you're doing." And those guys know what they're doing, those utility guys. You
know, in Houston, how many times have you driven to see them, and you just drive and drive and drive, and you see that big, tall building way off, and you got closer, and you're closer because it was all flat, you know what I mean?
Well, and driving.
I went to San Antonio through that route a few times.
And driving through, you know, all of those refineries down in Louisiana, and you know, but I had a lot of fun going out there and being able to watch, you know, and cheer for, you know, like I said, Earl Campbell.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing, you know, Jose Cruz was my
yeah.
favorite baseball player.
Oh, yeah.
And Chase Riddle signed him with the
exactly
Cardinals
right.
organization.
Yeah, they
so
sure did.
A lot of people didn't know that.
I know it, exactly. And of course, some of the all-time greats he signed. You're about, you know, a city, a town like Troy. I know the population is going to come very close to 20,000. Hopefully, you know, once this census is through with. But you're as good as your utility department.
Well,
I mean, it's like a football team. We've got a Division 1A program in the city, don't you think?
There's no doubt, and you know, that's the one thing that can't, you know, people. We got to have those lights going.
Hey, hey, you know, if it's any kind of rough weather or any kind of you know, happening, that crew is the first one on duty, probably.
Well, and what we do, basically, the way our preparedness works is we, you know, we started working on this when it first came out, you know, midweek Thursday, and then we started making some, you know, important decisions on Friday. And so what we will typically do, and what we did at this point in time, is we brought in utility crews to actually spend, you know, stay at the warehouse, spend the night.
I mean, it's like a team, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like a military team or something.
They
you know?
they do a wonderful job, and of course, you know, we've got some great folks. Brian Chandler does an incredible job, you know, leading that entire group, and but we've got a lot of very well-trained folks, and so they come in, they stay the night. You know, we bring in people to answer the phones, and really up in, you know, Brian's got a conference room next to his office upstairs in City Hall, and the technology is unbelievable. You know, there are screens on the wall, and it basically works like a war room.
And it really is, and they're, you know, they're well recognized, you know, for their efforts and their ability, and you know, it's like having another law enforcement almost in a way. You got men that'll go out and take care of your community when you need them.
Well, they're certainly first responders, and you know, and the community has great faith in them. I mean, just like, you know, last night we had 8 or 10 folks out on Flavia Circle, and we realized that the phase was open, and they went out there and fixed it, but we never got a call.
Yeah.
You know, the people just knew that, you know, they know, and they're going to get to it, and they can look at that map and see where things are fed, and we've been able to get some redundancies, you know, through the years. You know, obviously, you know, not just my granddad, but Mayor Lunsford, James Gordon Flowers, Irvin Sin. You know, there's a long line of
Irvin Sin has been electrocuted more than anybody I know.
But there are a lot of folks that you know, that have worked to provide us, and the city councils and the ratepayers through the years are the real.
Let me tell you this, you're exactly right. And people that work for them, they take it very serious. They make a good living. You know, of course. And another group on up the road, which I know is sort of like our police department working with our sheriff's department, is we've got the Southeast Alabama Electric Co-op is also there. Yeah, they work hand in hand, don't they?
Yes, you know, there are a lot of places where we, you know, in 1985 with the territoriality, you know, agreement, you know, we're on, you know, they're on some of our poles, we're on some of their poles. You know, we work together. We have customers, you know, that are very close together, and they're a first-class organization.
You're exactly right. And if you looked at both those together, it's a very professional type group of men.
It sure is, and that's one of the things. You know, Brian Chandler's father ran an electric cooperative, you know, for many years. Over in Greenville, and that the group of electric cooperatives, they have a tremendous training program that we're part of, and you know, Troy's the largest community in Alabama that we buy our power wholesale on the market, so we're not directly affiliated long term to Power South or TVA or Alabama Power, some of those things. And so, being able to work with the cooperatives and get involved with their training and do those things has helped us a great deal.
No question about it. I got to make sure I'm 6 feet. I got to think real good. We want to stay 6 feet apart.
In Mississippi, Louisiana, it really was bad. There's several tornadoes, and throughout that area, there was over 17 deaths. So it was actually more than I said earlier. So they actually really got hit hard. I heard a place in Mississippi got an EF5 tornado that was over 200-mile-per-hour winds.
Oh, that is unprecedented. That is unreal.
Well, and that's what was headed for us. And had those had those winds stayed, if that air coming up out of the Gulf had not changed a little bit, and I mean we were just
well, I want to say fortunate. I want to say it was close to 3 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood. What time frame did you feel like the real heavy rain came in?
Really about 1:30 is really when everything sort of moved on out. But we had we subscribe to a service out of I believe it's out of South Alabama, but it's Coastal Weather Research Center, and they actually, people heard the sirens last night because they went off.
Yeah.
At 12:33, we got an email from them that said 3 miles southwest of Troy there is a thunderstorm with rotation capable of producing tornadoes, and they actually called it a tornado warning. Which normally when that happens, the National Weather Service is right behind it. And, they didn't, so we never actually had a tornado warning from the National Weather Service. But we had enough information from them, from some of the signatures that we saw, that, we felt like it was, that's one of the things that we use.
Is Troy sort of lucky in a way? I've said this on this show over the years. We've been coming on air over 20 years. Troy is on a hill, and sometimes people might not realize it, is a storm is liable to bounce off that hill and go one way, either north or south. Is that true?
Well, certainly it's a ridge line, and some of that, it seems to me like a lot of these storms, like the one we had the other day, sort of follow the Conecuh River in some form or fashion. But the one thing that we're not very fortunate about is, it seems to draw a lot of lightning.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the outages that we had last night were due to lightning.
You grew up right there, level with University of Avenue. I'm going to tell you something you might not know. There's been about 3 or 4 people being struck by lightning on the area of a baseball field. Some reason you grew up on down the street.
Right.
Did y'all have more lightning than normal?
I mean, and last night we had an incredible amount of lightning, and to that point we had a lightning strike over at Bibb Graves that got a transformer.
Oh man!
So I mean, and just. It was
that's God given. I mean, that's something that's just going to happen in that area for some reason. It attracts a lot of lightning.
It's something that we've always dealt with. Brian and I talked about that on the phone this morning. Yeah. It's something that we've always, and I think it's being on that ridge line. Maybe it's got something to do with it, but that's what our guys that are going to work today, job number one is to go over there and replace that transformer.
You got to remember this. I'm sure you were a college kid in the stands, but do you remember when Troy was playing football and they hit the lightning hit a main transmitter there and knocked it out, and they finished the game on the practice field? You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And that was a right there on top of that crowd of people was a huge bolt of lightning. Nowadays, if it was located 15 miles away, they'd shut you down. And so, understandably, is that right?
Yeah, for 30 minutes, you have to, they'll shut everything down, and and we track and watch all those things. Dan Smith, does a great job keeping up with that, for us with the recreation department. But that's, that's something that's, and it was amazing that. The lights stayed on everywhere else around the campus because, obviously there are, you know, there are cameras on the campus for
Yeah.
WAKA and WSFA,
Exactly.
and you know, that was.
But
you know,
now you understand why they're saying, "Oh, they're shutting this game down," and I see lightning way over here, but you don't know how quick that lightning could be right in the middle of that stadium and could kill a lot of people.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Got to err on the side of caution, and you got 30, you know, nothing for 30 minutes.
Exactly.
So.
Of course, Jason Reeves is the mayor of the city of Troy. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back with more of Today in L.A., and we're going to talk about a lot of things when we get back.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa know-how. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa know-how team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Piggly Wiggly's local butchers are on site at both stores and will help you select the best cuts of meat and trim them to your liking. Our USDA choice beef is the most consistently tender, juicy, and flavorful beef you can buy, all at cost plus 10%.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Saw a beautiful picture, you know,
Yeah.
that I think we're back on the
That's
air.
right. Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by our good friends at Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. Bird Drugs, of course, has been there since 1940, and of course, Joe Watson's one of the fine people that I know in this world. And I asked him the other day, I said, Joe, hey, how long you gonna be with us? He said, I'm gonna be with you all the way. I mean, they don't plan to shut down anytime soon, and of course, that's a vital aspect of our environment, is being able to get to medicine that is needed by so many people. We've got Jason Reeves, the mayor of the city of Troy, is our guest, and you've been very nice to be a part of of getting the word out to the individuals and to the community. And of course, we're talking about the heavy winds and rain that we got last night. Thank goodness we got through it without a great deal of damage, but we did have some.
We had some power outages, had some trees and limbs down, some things of that nature, but had some transformers damaged, but no injuries. We were very blessed in that matter.
All right, you can dial 1-311. Is that the
right? Yes, 311. Right. You can call 311, and what we normally what we do in those cases is to try to alleviate the pressure on our 911 operators who do a tremendous job all the time, but especially in times like these. And we've had to work in a new protocol with COVID-19 where they ask certain questions and do certain things, and and I want to say that this week is Emergency Telecommunicators Week. Normally we would do a proclamation and things like that, but they are the first part of that first response, and getting that information. They help so many people. They keep all of our folks safe, and they do a wonderful job.
You brought this 1-311 calling or Watts line or hot bed line or hotline, whatever you want to call it.
One call to City Hall.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, that would mean go as far as when I get my garbage, and we were able to get the word out so that your people would get Good Friday off and so forth. But, of course, it's a way of communication, and you pretty much brought that, you saw it and you brought it to Troy.
That was something that we felt like, customer service is a huge part of this, and making sure that really that there were a couple things we wanted to do. One, we wanted to be able to keep track of,
Exactly.
there's a system where we can keep track and push these things out to different departments when somebody calls in, and so we can look for patterns and things that could be an issue, and make sure that those things are taken care of, so that we don't, hopefully that something doesn't fall through the cracks. But we also wanted to, what we realized was, and Troy is a wonderful place, and a lot of people know one another, and and there are a lot of folks that could just pick up and call one of their friends down at the city and say, hey, I got this, I got that.
Yeah.
But also the things that we didn't think about a lot of times are we have, 1,000 to 2,000 new students or plus every year
Exactly.
that come in. We've got international companies here. So we've got a lot of people that move to Troy and may not know who to call.
That's right.
And it was really important to me that you didn't have to know, you didn't have to know personally the mayor or somebody involved with the city to get something done.
Well, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I apologize. But many times over the years, I'd call the police to find out, or to tell them that there's a dead dog in the front yard or in the street or whatever. You'd end up, the only way you had to go to call the police department. Well, one thing you alleviated once you brought this 1311 line in is the load of traffic on 911, which is you didn't want those people to get involved with each other.
Well, because what happens is if you dial the non-emergency number for the police department, 566-0500,
That's right.
the same people that are answering the 911 calls answer those calls. So they can get inundated with non-emergency calls, and you certainly don't want people to call 911 when it's not an emergency. You absolutely want them to call when it is. And so it's been a great, and we've got some, fantastic folks that know a lot about the city and can provide a lot of answers. And if they can't, they can put it where it needs to go so people can find answers.
One of the biggest changes, and I want to ask you this, I've never asked you this before. Now every 911 call actually comes with a fire truck leading the way. Then ambulances would be called in. Is that right?
That's right. That's one of the things that, we started. I know your friend Thomas Outlaw, when he was fire chief.
Yeah.
We started, beginning to run EMS, emergency medical services. And what we do now is every one of our firemen, works toward getting a paramedic's license or an advanced EMT and things of that nature. And so what we do is if there is a medical call, we send our people first. We send the cavalry, and we've got, all types of, they've got incredible training. The taxpayers and the council have allowed us to have, incredible equipment. And so they're going to, if you call 911 and you've got a medical issue, they're going to come and they're going to do everything they can to help you. And most of the time we get there first. We work on stabilizing the patient. And then when the ambulance gets there, then they do the transport.
I tell you what, I live fairly close to M Street. And, buddy, that's a lot of traffic all night long. I mean, these guys are up and at them all night long. And hopefully there are not any prank calls, but I'm afraid that, in any kind of open environment, you might have that.
Not really. I mean, most of the time, if people need something, we provide it for them. Those guys do a great job. They do things, they go and help people. They do lift assist. They do all sorts of things. And that was one of the things about adding additional firemen and adding a third station was knowing that, you know, we weren't just in the structure for our business anymore. You know,
these guys are professionals. I tell you, they're professionals. They know what's going on.
Third station? I know there's one off George Wallace and there's one downtown. Where's the other station?
The third station is behind the Troy City Board of Education. We needed to build something on 87 or something south of 231, and as we looked at things, we realized that we purchased the old Army Reserve Center from the city schools, leased it back to them for nothing, and then there was the old drill hall in the back. They wasn't being used, and so we did some work and saved some money.
Turned out to be a perfect place.
It was. It absolutely was, and it functions very well. And
let me just tell you this too. People say Troy's got 20,000 people. Well, they say, where are they? Well, I'll tell you right now. Take a drive down the Elba Highway, and when you get to the country club area, take a right area and follow it all the way back to back, and then there's a section back there, Mayor, I bet there's 150, 200 new homes back there. A lot of people don't even know it's back there because it's not on the beaten path, you know. At least
there's been a tremendous amount of residential growth south of 231,
exactly.
And so that was important to get a location there. We obviously, we have an ISO rating of 2 now, which is better than 97% of the fire departments across the country, and we're gonna, our long-term goal is to get to a 1 and possibly get another station up north of Troy in the future, so we can
that would really
protect everybody. But
so you've got a truck, a fire truck on the Elba Enterprise highway.
Yes, we have 3 newer engines is what we call them. On a night like last night, for example, where we know we could have some issues, we staff that with, we end up with, we have 3 engine companies, at least, maybe, and we may add a 4th. We have a ladder company. Our big ladder truck stays over at Station 2 on George Wallace.
Let me tell you this, it'll go up many stories. For years, Troy didn't have one that went up real high, but this is a brand new one that is huge. I didn't realize how many stories will it go? 6, 7 stories?
It'll take care of the Doug Hawkins Tower over at the University.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
And so that was important, and we've had it for a while. It'll be something that in the next 3 to 5 years we'll need to replace. But also we have a rescue company that we've worked very closely with the county on. And our guys staff that, and so they'll go out anywhere in the county if there's a car wreck or an incident, whatever. We got a couple of guys that can load up, and they can, that is a tremendous truck that does a lot of things. We have an ambulance over on the new station on 87, and so we can have an ambulance company if we need them. We've been able to buy one of those ATV vehicles that we can use over at the university that 2 men can get in and use a stretcher, and it's got all the bells and whistles and all the things that we would need to if there's a ball game or a basketball game or a big event over there, they can maneuver through and then meet.
Troy is not ordinary. We're big. We're sort of big town police force and fire department. We do it in a pretty big way. We have a lot of men now on our police force.
We absolutely do. We've got 60 slots. We got 55 men. And we're working on. I think we've got. I signed paperwork last week to send 3 more to the academy. So that's something that
most every one of your officers have gone through the academy then.
Well, absolutely, they have to.
Yeah.
And now we may bring them on. We hire them early on. We let them begin to do some field training a little bit beforehand. But then they go to most of our people go to the Northeast Alabama law enforcement training center up around Anniston.
Another great thing that y'all do, of course, you're able to keep good law enforcement people by paying them a decent salary. So you're very competitive salary-wise with all the towns around.
Well, we work hard to do that, and we always try to keep an eye on where that is. And one of the things that we've been talking about as a council is the legislature allowed us to go back to everyone to go to a Tier 1 system. Right now, there are basically two systems. There's a Tier 1 for people that started working before 2012, and then there's a Tier 2 system. And on that Tier 2 system, you have to work 30 years. You have to work. You can't draw until you're in your 60s, and that is a difficult thing for especially first responders or folks like our essential employees in environmental services and utilities that we've been talking about. And so by being able to, everyone doesn't offer that Tier 1, we're going to be able, we're very hopeful that come October 1, we're going to be able to go back to that, for everybody to go back to that Tier 1 system. And we believe that will not only help us with retention, but it'll also be an opportunity for, to get some very experienced people.
Well, from our police force to our fire department and rescue department, to our utilities department, and I'm sure there are other highway patrol is here strong. The sheriff's department's strong. Troy is quite. I mean, we're big time. We're D1, aren't we?
Well, we're very blessed. We're certainly, especially right now while we're going through the COVID situation. It's great that with the court systems closed down, the sheriff's been able to help with patrols and different things like that. We talked when I was here before about how much we appreciate Colonel Ward and what they have done to put in a substation over at the Ralph Adams Armory and some of those things. So all those things are important, and we're obviously the university has a police force, and all those things work together. We're afforded a great many things that a lot of places our size are not.
And then with a great,
like on a typical game day, I've always been curious about that. Like, a Troy football game, say when they played Southern Miss, that was a big crowd, and how many of your officers are involved on a game day situation?
All of them.
At the stadium, though, around the
well, obviously,
25 guys at least.
Right. And what we do, Michael, is we obviously have a group that stays out. We have a full shift that patrols the community. But then we work overtime, with all of our guys around the stadium. And that's something that we have always done at a lot of these places, the cities and the police department charge. We don't do that. That's something that we have looked at as a service, because obviously, those events that we want
tax base,
we want them to be safe, and they provide entertainment and and a lot of economic stimulation for our community.
It's amazing that I could sit here and name them over and over and over. There are hundreds of events at Troy University or the city brings into town for revenue. I mean, we have probably a bigger tax base sometimes than some of these bigger cities as far as bringing in entertainment and worthy events.
Well, certainly having a Division I university with Division I athletics, very important to bringing in groups. Also, there are a lot of different things that go on with young people that the university works on. That's bringing in for those types of things. Arts. I mean, we have wonderful things that the university does, but not only the university, but also the community.
Troy is an artsy town.
Right. The Johnson Center the Troy Arts Council.
Yeah, Arts Council.
They do wonderful events, and there's always there's a lot to do from that standpoint, and that's something that people find really all over the country. When you have a university, there are a lot of things that come along with that.
People say, ask you, I'm sure numerous times, especially during a census year, they say, well, what's the population of Troy? And of course, population means a lot toward federal funding. How do we look right now as far as our growth compared to what kind of federal funding? Now, this could be way off because of what's happening now, but that's the goal that you make.
Well, we need people to fill out that census form, go online. The census is very important, and it's critical to our community. And and right now with COVID, it's and for good reason. It's sucked all the oxygen out of the room, sort of, when it comes to putting things out. But it gives us an opportunity to go ahead and fill out that census, and that is so critical. It will, because we're going to have to, we've got to provide for everyone in the community, whether it's education, health care,
right,
public safety, all of those things. And if we're not counted, we don't get the federal funding that we need.
Payroll. We have a huge payroll, don't we?
To supplement that, certainly.
What kind of payroll does the city of Troy just estimate? It's bigger than most 20,000 people.
Right. It's well in. You talking about just for the city?
City based.
Just for the city, it's obviously our largest expense, and just. I'd have to look at it, but
if you look at education,
I'd say $12 million just for the city of Troy.
Yeah, city budget,
but when you look at the schools, when you look at all of the larger companies, it's well over $100 million.
It's a huge operation, and y'all are expected to make payroll. Is that right?
Well, of course, absolutely.
I mean, and the university the same way,
Right. I mean, it's we have to. That's part of that's the biggest expense to the taxpayer. Is personnel.
Yeah.
It's always the biggest line item in the budget. Michael, you were going.
How does the census work? I mean, like, as far as Troy University students go, I've always wondered that in a college town. So say Troy has 20,000 people and Troy University has 8,000 students. Do the 8,000 students count as far as population, or they don't count? Some
of them do. If they're, you just can't be counted twice. So if they're being counted at their home with their parents, that's one thing. But a lot of for financial aid reasons and a lot of different reasons, there are a lot of students that are independent and live here. And so if you're not being counted somewhere else, we want you counted here.
Exactly. No question about it.
You've got an address here. Absolutely.
And of course, Jason Reeves, the mayor of the city of Troy, and there's a lot going on. And I know people are saying, well, why don't you say something about COVID-19? And that's the thing that's on everybody's mind right now is what's going to happen here. We noticed that the city of Troy just has, as of Friday, could have been as of today, so far no deaths contributed to the virus. And right now, the city of Troy, do you know the exact figure there?
I think we're at 19.
19, which is very good.
19 cases. We've obviously tested a lot of people. That was one of the things. We had 26 people at the Troy Recreation Center last night because of this inclement weather.
Yeah.
And what we did is we had, paramedics, police, Dan Smith's group out there, and because of, the hospital, and some different groups got up some, we were able to give them gloves and masks. We were able to scan them for their temperature. And because the last thing we wanted to do, we wanted to protect people from what could have been a life-threatening weather situation, but we didn't want to, spread the virus.
Yeah.
And so, we were very careful. We had plenty of room, and they did a great job of keeping everybody separated, and then they were able to go home, all of them, between 1:30 and 2 o'clock.
That's another great group of people is the Recreation Department, and what a strong Recreation Department we have. But again, we've got payroll to meet, and you've got to look at the situations out there, especially with this virus. What's going to happen. What is your feeling about the city of Troy right now in this situation we're in?
Well, we're going to know more as all these things are happening in arrears. But Mike, the most important thing is and there's going to begin to be a little bit better news coming out nationally. I think you're going to see different aspects of this begin to look positive. It's so vitally important that we don't let up. What we're doing is working. The governor's order goes through the end of the month, and what we need to make sure is that we get this over with so we can get our economy going again. But we can't do that too early, and we can't begin to people have done a great job with social distancing and doing the things that they need to do, and we can't let up right now. We've got to continue to make sure that we get on the other side of this, because this is, as I've said all along, this is a healthcare crisis, but it's also an economic crisis. Yeah. And certainly, we're hoping that the federal aid will help those that need it, and we're hoping to get things up and moving as quickly as it's safe. But that's going to be, the answer is we don't know yet what kind of, obviously it is an incredible, there's going to be an incredible toll, from an economic standpoint.
And then of course, everybody looks at all the major cities and everything, but hey, just think of how many Ozarks, Santa Lucia's, Troy's, Greenville's, and all those type people that have the potential of spreading this.
Well, and there's and that's what's very important is that we make sure that people understand. Right now, the only aid that's been passed are for communities that are 500,000 or more. Well, that's certainly not us, and it's not a huge, overwhelming majority of the rest of the country. So hopefully that's going to be worked out, and we're documenting our different expenses and working on different things, and we're going to get through it. But there's going to be a tremendous toll, not only on but that toll starts with with our small businesses, because the city of Troy doesn't get a dollar that we don't get from our community, our citizens, in the form of taxes and utility payments and things like that. And, people have been hit hard, and, it's going to take a little time for this to come back. But I know that everyone had worked hard on building an incredible economy before this happened, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and do that same thing when we have the opportunity coming up. So.
It makes that call when it comes to the city of Troy. Do you just basically go along with what Governor Ivey says?
In regards to about opening up obviously the state health order is in effect through April the 30th. So, I think the important thing right now is to abide by, obviously abide by that. It is state law. We're going to look at it, and then begin to reassess as we get closer to that date. But that'll be, we derive our power from the state government and the legislature, and that'll be something that we'll look at. The state health order allows, for a good bit of economic activity, but again, we've got people that are, that are completely shut down from their livelihood, and that's why it's so important that we do what we're supposed to do in regard to COVID-19, because those people desperately need to get open again, and we don't need to backslide on this. We need to get on the other side of it, and I think we're well on our way to doing that.
Of course, Troy, with just right now 18 actual people that have been, I reckon.
Well, I think we've had 19 people in Pike County.
In Pike County.
Test positive so far. So, but a lot of that is based on how the large number of tests that we've done. As I've talked before, we've done a tremendous amount of testing per capita that a lot of folks have not done. You see some of the testing on the state website, but a great deal of that testing has been sent to private labs by other folks. But we're beginning to see some things that I believe are positive, and that's one of the things that it makes you glad that things are moving in the proper direction. But what we can't do is go, oh well, we're going to be, and then do things that we don't need to do.
In Troy and Pike County, are we seeing a lot of layoffs, or right now is everybody making payroll, or what?
Well, obviously there's been a tremendous amount of, through the small business loans.
Sure.
All the banks have been incredibly busy trying to make sure, and what basically the way that works is, as long as you meet more than 75% of your payroll, and you take care of your essential aspects of your business, then that loan that you get for 8 weeks is forgiven. And there's a complicated process that goes in that. I know the banks and accountants and different people have been working on that, and so that has helped some people. Obviously, these personal contact entities, like our barbershops that we mentioned,
exactly.
And some of those
I hadn't had a haircut in forever.
And they're having a hard time because they can't work at all. Obviously our retailers are having a difficult time because they can do some things, but it's not like they're in business to allow people to shop, and they can't shop right now.
Exactly right.
So
I hadn't even been to a bank. I mean, can you go inside a bank, or is everything through the drive-through?
Everything's through the drive-through, or you have to make an appointment to come in.
That's right.
And so, most everybody's lobbies are closed, just to be certain that that there's not a spread. But the drive-throughs are open, and you can call and make appointments and do the things that you need to do.
The Honorable.
I'm wondering, is there a list of restaurants? I know the city of Troy wants to support local restaurants, and I know some of these restaurants are our sponsors. But Dad and I were wanting to have a list to let everybody know what is available, what is open. Do you have an idea if something like that's out there?
We've got a Shop Local Facebook page that lists all of those things. Also, the Chamber of Commerce has put out some things that, and basically it's almost like a scorecard that says, are you open? Do you do curbside pickup? Do you do delivery? The different aspects of that, and you can find that at the Chamber of Commerce, and then the city's website links to that as well.
Another thing, another huge program we have here is, of course, our hospital, and it's owned by the city of Troy. The hospital is. It's, of course, has a very professional group of people running that hospital. What do you think?
Well, they've done a tremendous job. They got out in front of the testing aspect. I think was one of the things that I was really proud to see them do. They started early on. They set up the negative pressure room, and they, these supplies have been rationed, and they started early on, testing, and then making sure that there were additional supplies to continue doing that. Yeah. And they've done that, and that's been a great help. We they've done a tremendous job, and I've every day since before really anybody knew this was going on, Rick Smith and I have communicated every day, even yesterday. We always text or call by phone, and they've worked well. Our entire medical community, all of our medical providers, Sarah, the hospital, you know, everybody's been working together. Everybody's been doing everything that they could. And I appreciate that so much.
You know, I tell you, the timing, if you want to say anything good that could come from this, the timing of hiring Rick Smith, he's one of the most professional people we've ever had in that position. Is that right?
Well, he certainly has got a great temperament for it. You know,
experience. He's seen it all, hasn't he?
He sure has. And, you know, we had, you know, Ronnie Dean before. Who did a great job. And Ronnie had a mutual friend. Rick wasn't looking for a job.
Yeah.
He was in a good position down in Orlando, but we were able to, you know, through some connections with Ronnie, hear about him, bring him in, talk to him, and we, you know, he's done a great job, but he's got a great team.
Yeah. You gotta love Cheryl Crow.
Listen,
hey, is there a man in this town like Cheryl Crow?
People don't understand, and he is. He's humble, and he wouldn't want anybody to, but he has, you know, being chairman of the board of that hospital and many other things that he does. He's just a tremendous leader and done a wonderful job.
He loves his community. He loves his hometown. And of course, he was my hero growing up.
He, I tell you, he has. I have.
Funny, his son Blake. I was his hero growing up.
Well, you know,
and John Reeves too. Is that right?
Well, I wanted to be like John Reeves.
Yeah, I know it. Exactly right.
Well, we, you know, he's done a wonderful job. You know, leading the board. You know, the city, the hospital. The city does not directly own the hospital. It's owned through a healthcare foundation set up through the state, and obviously. Mr. Crow is chairman of that board. Part of that board is appointed by the city council, and part of it is appointed by the board itself. And but Mr. Crow has been involved in the medical, you know, in the medical field, you know, goodness, for over 50 years.
No question
and
about
has seen so many things, and is just he's just a good, calm, steady leader, and done a. You know, it's meant a lot to me.
He doesn't have to raise his voice.
Not at all.
You know, that's a sign of a great leader. They do, and he's not concerned about who gets the credit.
Not one bit. He
you know, that's the kind of people you want.
And he would not like the fact that we're talking about him.
No question about it.
But he is.
I wish you'd bring back Rook's Pizza or Pizza Village. Those are my
Oh yeah, that was really
what
good.
What was that sandwich I used to get from Rook's years ago? It was called a pastrami sandwich or something like that. It was wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest this morning is our mayor, the Honorable Jason Reeves, and we appreciate him being on our show. Hoss Daddy's show, for Sanders Truck Lines, will be coming up immediately after this show. And guess who the featured guest is? And you bit off this now yourself now, because I told you you'd be going, if you went the whole length, you'd be going 2.5 hours.
That's all right. I tell you, we, you know, as I've said before, you know, I've always, you know, truck drivers move this country, and I am, you know, I am so grateful, you know, for what Wiley Sanders Truck Lines does for this community, what it does for me and my family. I mean, they're just, you know, it's an incredible organization. I remember, I guess I started and I worked with Sanders Lead and with KW Plastics from the time I was 16. And I remember talking to Mr. Wiley about what I was, you know, what I would, you know, about, you know, just career advice. And I remember him telling me that, you know, and I was thinking about being a lawyer, and which my dad and brother are now. Yeah. And you know, and I remember those blue eyes lighting up when he said, you know, that's a good profession, but I always, you know, wanted to run trucks. And
well, I'll tell you,
made a, you know, and that's so May 4th, 1995, I started working for the truck lines.
Yeah.
and it's been an incredible opportunity.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you from our studios on South Grundy Street right here in Troy. And, let's talk a little bit about Troy Cable and what we have that so many people don't have is a live TV show,
right,
where we can communicate to our constituents and the people that live in this community. I mean, you're right now this morning, you got 2.5 hours with the Mayor, Jason Reeves, and you're welcome to call in and ask any questions. And, of course, the hotline, which is very important, brought to you by Troy Regional Medical Center. Ladies and gentlemen, very important to know what the hotline has to say today. The hotline is 670-5409. 670-5409. This is a product of the Troy Regional Medical Center to give everybody out there that has questions and answers need to be made. You can make it with this 670-5409.
Right. If you've got concerns about COVID, if you've got concerns about symptoms or anything of that nature, you can call that hotline and they will take you through it. They will let you know, okay, they'll go through the symptoms and, and a lot of people, if you screen in for a test, you're going to get a test.
Yeah.
And, but that is the, obviously if you have a healthcare provider, it's good to call them. But if you've got something, if something pops up in the middle of the night that concerns you, this is a 24-hour hotline. So you can always call the hotline if you're, we encourage people to call their healthcare provider if they've got any concerns, when they're open, and your doctor always knows you better than anybody. But this is an opportunity for people with specific questions or concerns about COVID and their health to call that number, and they'll walk you through whatever you need to do.
Michael, I wanted to say something.
The issue is, if you do have somebody that tests positive, do doctors and the hospital get involved as far as like testing the immediate family or testing people that they've been around, or how does that work? I mean, do you automatically want them to get tested to know if, say your spouse, your wife?
Well, what you want to do is a
mix. To get tested, how's that work?
Right. You want everybody to be quarantined. That's been in close contact. You want everybody to quarantine together. Most of the time, a lot of people end up getting tests. Some of them may not have any symptoms and may not necessarily get a test, until they test whoever is positive, to do their negative test. But yes, there are, the healthcare providers and the hotline will make that decision. One part of this is obviously, when we've talked about this before, this is a notifiable disease. So the Alabama Department of Public Health is going to look into this, and then they're going to reach out. But, for you to get one of these tests, a healthcare professional's got to say they need a test, and you're always going to hear from, the healthcare professional. They're going to call and say, you've got, you've tested positive. These are the things you need to do. You've got to, quarantine for 2 weeks and those sort of things. And so.
And of course, they're going to advise you, and they're going to tell you which way to go. Do I go to my personal physician, or do I go to the hospital or the emergency room? That's the last things we want to do, because you don't want to overload the hospital. You don't want to overload the police department asking them questions, which I'm sure they still get questions all the time. This one, and then the 311 line helps a lot of things with logistics, and logistics are real important. And then at the same time, we've got to adhere to the general public. So this number sort of gives you some leeway.
Well,
right?
It's very important. Obviously we want people to call that number if they've got questions, but always, if you're feeling, if you're in a crisis situation, call 911. If you're in a crisis situation and feel like you've got to go to the emergency room, go. We don't want, we want you to call the hotline if you possibly can. But that doesn't mean that if you wake up in some sort of crisis, you need to dial 911. And
yeah, exactly right.
So that's very important. But they've done a great job putting that together and working on it. And
I want to ask you about a couple of things. It sort of tickled me, Mike. You'll get a kick out of this, and hopefully Jason will. Jason is known to be very innovative, and a lot of the things that Sanders have done over the years, he's been right there in the middle of it. He's an innovator. He's a thinker. He understands what's going on. But one time there was a guy out there that came in and said, "What are y'all going to do all these plastic canisters that all this lead went in there? What are you going to do with this big stack of plastic materials? What are you going to do with it? You got to do something with it." And a little guy in the background says, "Let's recycle it."
Yes.
And was you the guy that said, "Let's recycle it"?
Kenny
but
Campbell.
Whoever did,
Yeah, Kenny Campbell.
Whoever did has made it the largest recycler of plastics in the world.
No,
Is that right?
yes, Mr. Campbell and Mr. Sanders, worked together on that, and obviously Mr. Kenny has, gone from, things that were being thrown away to building the largest plastic recycler on the planet.
Exactly.
And for high density polyethylene and polypropylene, it is and it just enhanced the other businesses.
Oh yeah, especially
the trucking business, and all the business is based on recycling. I mean, the lead business is based on recycling car batteries and lead of that nature. Yeah. And but obviously, Mr. Campbell, I had the privilege of I was working on a shift at KW Plastics when Mr. Kenny was working on the beginning of KW Recycling. Yeah. And so I got to grind up some plastic that he was testing and see the infancy of that company that they put together, and and he, they deserve so much credit, and I tell you, Stephen has come along and just done incredible.
He's in the promotion. He's a promoter,
and it's and cares about the folks that work with him, cares about his family. Just very wise, and they they work together. He and Mr. Kenny work together so well, and it's just been it's very when you see these generational changes, sometimes people worry, but this has been an incredible change for us.
Another thing about all of this is you keep employing people. I mean, what y'all do is something that needs to be done now by a lot of other, whether it's infrastructure or whatever. Y'all, to my knowledge, have done very little layoffs and continue to employ
there are as many truck drivers out there right now as there have been in some time. I mean, we're full.
What is the price of diesel right now? I mean, gas is down to like what, $1.20?
It's gone. It's very low, and obviously, what we do is not, and your Uncle Joel did this for a long time, but we don't. We don't pay, what the pump price is, obviously. We work through, and we have a great system that looks at the route that the truck driver is going to drive, and then what they do is they know how far they're going, how much diesel they've got, and we find what is the lowest price, and they go there. They send a message that activates a card, and it's been a system that has had a tremendous benefit.
A lot of Troy's industries, they keep making payroll because they continue to supply. Is that right?
Well, we've got a lot of folks that are still working. A lot of our larger industries, and hopefully, with some of these SBA loans, it'll keep people going until we can get this full economy back going. But there are certainly people suffering. There are certainly people that are, in a bind, and we want to, the more we pay attention to doing the things we need to do in regards to washing our hands, social distancing, doing those things, and the quicker that we're going to be able to get things moving in regards to the economy.
Jason Reeves, the mayor of the city of Troy, Alabama, and of course we're coming to you in our 12 county area of central and southeast Alabama. Plus we're coming to you live on Facebook this morning, going across the nation, across the world. Isn't it amazing what we can do here at Troy Cable to not only promote activities that are going on, but to educate our people out there on what's happening in our community.
Well, and this is, Mr. Harold Freeman was one of those people that should be mentioned in the, just as a, just the foresight, and and Dick and Vicky and everybody have done a wonderful job. And Mike, the things that you've done as a cheerleader, for this community and putting things out. And, we are so blessed to have, Troy Cable here. I mean, and have all the dark fiber that we have in the internet.
I was wondering, you mentioned Harold Freeman and how innovative he was, and you're talking about the cable that one day he said, I'm going to order all this fiber optic cable, and we're going to send it over to Luverne. We're going to take the fiber optic cable and go to Luverne. People said, man, what will he do in Luverne? Well, tell you what he did. He went from Luverne to all over South Alabama, putting cable up, and people want to know, how did Troy get that industry? How in the world did they get that industry? And we've got this and that and this and that. But that fiber optic cable is one of the reasons for our success.
Right.
Is that right?
And incredible homegrown businesses. Yeah. We've talked about several of them, and that's one of the things that makes that makes Troy go and makes it so unique. Is we've got some incredible homegrown businesses, and what they've done is they've been able to show people. They've been an incredible example to folks from the outside, whether they were Fortune 100 companies or or other international companies. You can do business in Troy. You can make a living in Troy. It is a business-friendly community because obviously, they're going to hear me cheerlead and me do all those things. But when they hear from people who have risked their lives and their fortune to try to make things happen in a community, it resonates, and that is the biggest push and the biggest thing that has helped us, fuel this growth in this economy, before all this COVID stuff and attract these industries was what people were already doing here, and I'm really proud of what they've done.
I want to mention again, our hotline is 670-5409. This is the Troy Regional Medical Center hotline. Appreciate our good friend Jim Jackson and Jim Jackson or Bill Jackson Ford, Bill Jackson Chevrolet, located right here in Troy, and we've got a great bunch of businesses and that are stick with their support of our show. And of course, Mayor, it's been a delight this morning to have this kind of, and I hope we asked the right questions. I hope, of course, you got another show coming up called the Hoss Daddy Show. I call him Hoss Daddy, but Jeffrey Bennett, our good friend with Sanders Truck Lines, has a show coming up in just a few minutes after we leave this show. Mayor, of course, I know, you get calls from everybody. What are we going to do? Are we going to meal to make payroll and whatever? Well, once these checks do start going out, you'll help some with the way people feel about, hey, am I going to be able to make it?
Certainly. I think, you're going to see these federal this federal assistance help. There'll be some state assistance, and we'll look at this as it goes through. But we'll get through it. We're gonna I believe that we're gonna come through this stronger than we've ever been, and I know that it's going to be a difficult time. But our community is always, not only our community, but this state and nation have always risen to the challenge, and I believe we'll do it again.
Need some help this morning? Go 1311. If you got a tree down, or you got an electrical wire down, or you got any kind of storm-related problem, they'll get to it right away.
Right. Call us. We're working. We'll do what we need to do, and Mike, I'm always available to if there's specific things that you want to get out. I'll continue to come throughout this crisis if you feel like it'll be helpful.
You know who's looking down on you stronger than anybody? Miss Sally, your grandmama. She loved you so much, and she loved her community, and she's looking with a big smile at you this morning.
Well, it's yesterday was the first Easter without her, so it's been tough. But I did not have a bigger fan, and there wasn't a finer person, and she did. She loved her community, and I I'm so thankful that my grandparents were all such a huge part of my life.
No question. We're going to run this show again today at 1:30, and we'll run it periodically. Any information you need, again, call, especially if you feel like you're not doing well physically, call 670-5409, 670-5409. Again, Mayor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
And we'll see you again tomorrow right here.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, y'all stay safe out there.
Troy Cable TC2 on your Troy Cable network. Have a great day.